to me, many challenges that burden me. My heart center shines and calls to me. This is who I choose to be. Sometimes lessons.
Welcome to the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. This is Penny Fisher, and we are so glad you are joining us for this week's episode. Hey, beautiful souls. How's everybody doing? I am just tickled beyond belief to be here with you today. Quick check-in. How's everything going with all of your uh work around kind of releasing these constructs of success and failure, right? As you play in that space, dance in that ballroom, let me mix metaphors. I hope you are able to kind of breathe a little bit more freely and just kind of step into that space of childlike curiosity and playfulness, be the observer of your own life, go out and have fun, right? I am beyond energized and vibrating about this episode, Create Your Own Reality. I'm pretty sure there's going to be an episode 2 for next week because the downloads for this have been coming fast and furious. Um, I was really struggling with what this episode was going to be, what the topic was. As playing with all these topics, nothing really felt kind of like it was the right thing. And now all of a sudden here I am and it's crunch time. I've got to record. I got nothing. And then this morning I have a book of inspirational quotes. Well, a notebook because I collect quotes from all these beautiful books I have the honor of reading because they come across my path. And I'm uh, part of a group that I'm with. We have to keep a daily gratitude jar, and it just didn't. It's something that felt like somebody told me to do it. So instead, what I did was I started sharing an inspirational quote every day, recording it, and then offering my gratitude offering for the day. And I've popped it on TikTok, it's on Facebook. Anyhow, all of that by way of telling you that I was setting up the arc for the like the next 10 days or so of gratitude journal entries, right? And it took me into the world of the quantum, right? The world of the tiny, the world of quantum physics. And I got to tell you that this place where science and energy work, energy healing intersect, this is the place that I get all jazzed up. Like I get super excited about hanging out in this space. Um, so I thought, I've just pulled all these beautiful quotes around this. I'm really excited about it. Why don't I just frame the podcast out around this idea of the um, the way that the quantum physics actually is kind of like a framework for the way we can navigate our lives and the ascension spiral. So I'm sitting at my desk and I'm starting to drop in and see what's going to come. And I thought, let me call in an ally. And so I pulled an oracle card. There's a beautiful deck called the White Light Oracle card deck. Alana Fairchild has written it. And I pulled, oh, by the way, she's also got a white light album that is, for me, beyond amazing. The vibration is so high. Oh. Anywho, I grabbed a card, and it's a card that I have pulled a gazillion times before. The card number, if anybody has the deck, is number 44, and the title of the card is Ishtar's Lion Gate 888. Okay, lovely. And I've pulled the card in the past. I always read the guidebook. I do the practice at the end. But when I started reading what's in the Oracle card book, the guidebook, I was blown away by how much what was in there is aligned with this idea of the quantum physics stuff that I've been playing with in the daily gratitude journal, right? So it was affirmation for me, confirmation, and it opened up like this mind blowing um, pathway. So I'm so excited to share this with you today. So let me start by sharing this paragraph from the guidebook for the Oracle card deck. If any of you have the deck and want to check it out, I'm on pages 218 to 219. And um, this is what the guidebook says. Ishtar, who that's part of the title of the card, right? Ishtar is the queen of the night, a dark goddess of loss and letting go, but also a priestess of light who holds the keys to renewal from suffering. She is relentless in her pursuit of the path to true inner freedom. She willingly surrenders her attachments and her identities, even separating herself temporarily from her loved ones, with such boldness and confidence that she crosses into realms where others dare not go. She experiences vulnerability and in that state discovers deep truth. So I know that Ishtar is an ancient goddess, right? She comes to us by way of the Sumerians, the Babylonians. I believe that there was a very ancient tribe of Semitic um, people, civilization. These all way predate um, uh, Christ's birth on earth. Um, uh, Mesopotamia, I believe she was in. So she keeps showing up for these different civilizations as they need her. So Inanna, um, Aphrodite, Astarte, these are all different names that she's been known by throughout the millennia. She is known to be the incarnation of the planet Venus. And the planet Venus is the morning star, right? As she rises on the eastern horizon in the morning. And she's also then the evening star. So after she's traversed the sky, she then sets in the west, but we know she's going to show up again in the morning. Astrologically and energetically, Venus is kind of like a big sister to Earth. She holds a very, very high consciousness, a very, very high vibration of love. And she kind of is like the neon sign, kind of pointing us to where we can go, what we can be. And very much energetically supports Earth, both as the entity at Mother Earth, Mama Gaia, and those of us who are have chosen this as our playground for this lifetime. Okay. All right. So Ishtar, um, and I'm not super familiar with this. I did have to do some looking up, but broad strokes, the best known myth about Ishtar has her descending into the underworld. If I've got this right, and fact check me on this, her husband dies, she goes into the underworld to save him. And there are probably as many versions of this story as people who have told it, but the core uh, allegory message, allegorical message for this myth, this story, is this idea of death and rebirth. Okay. It's this idea that we have to go into the deepest and darkest part of ourselves in order to come out on the other side as the most pure versions of ourselves that we can. right? So as Ishtar descends into the underworld, she has to cross through, I think it's 7 gates. And at each of these gates, an article of clothing or a piece of jewelry is taken from her. And these represent aspects of her identity, right? So her identity as royalty, her power to rule, her pride, her arrogance, are these all of these things are one by one um, uh, taken away from her, either literally um, or metaphorically, right? They're taken away until she gets to this last gate, and her very being, her spirit, is taken from her. And she gets to the very bottom of the underworld and she dies. All right. When she gets there, everything that she is, everything that she has thought she had been, all of her old identities, all of her wounds, everything is gone. She's stripped bare, literally and figuratively naked. So what's left? Well, what's left is this light of who she is as a star, as the energy of Venus. Venus, pure love, right? Again, a representation of source energy. She is stripped down to the bare bones, literally. And all that's left is her true identity, her true self. And I love this as um, this parable, I guess I'll almost call it, of our own human journey, right? Because we can say we're all love and light, and rainbows and unicorns, and life is good, but the fact of the matter is that the way that we get closer and closer to our own light is by going into the shadow places within us, going in, finding those identities that have been imposed upon us, right, by our parents, our grandparents, our cultures. Oh my gosh, I have a friend who is constantly, constantly talking about herself in terms of her cultural heritage, right? I'm like, let that go, sister. Like, just be you. Like, what would my daughter say? Just do you, boo, right? We are told who we are. We're told again by parents, by society, by religion, by schools, by the economic structures, by political structures. We're told who we are. And some of those are imposed on us. Some of them we intuit or infer. Some of them we just take on. And we end up in these places of being wounded because we've created this belief that we are somehow broken. We're separate from source. We have to be protected in order to remain safe. We are not that, right? That's God, that's source, that's creator, that's all that is. I'm not that, right? So we go into the deepest part of ourselves to find out where those stories are, because that's all they are, my beautiful friends. They're stories, they're not truth. At the end of Ishtar's story, after she dies, she is actually resurrected and reborn 3 days later. Why? Because she has been willing to release all of the, and I'm air quoting, stuff that she's picked up and accrued along the way. And because all she is light, because all she is love, because she is no longer a prisoner to those old beliefs and old habits, old wounds and old identities, she is able to rise from the ashes. It's a phoenix story, right? She is able to rise from the ashes because all that she used to be has been transformed, has been transfigured, has been transmuted into unconditional love, which you know what I'm going to say. It's who she always was. Okay, so that's Ishtar. So how does this connect, Penny, with this world of the quantum? Because you started out by saying that we were we were going to talk about quantum physics. All right, so title of the episode is Create Your Reality. And here's the thing. What we know, wait, pause. I want to put out a massive disclaimer. I am not an expert in the world of quantum physics. I may have told you this before when I was doing my master's work in educational leadership. We were given an article to read, and the professor said, yeah, so this is an article on leadership written through the lens of quantum physics. Now, I was terrified of anything math and science. I'm a literacy person. I went on to read this article by Margaret Wheatley, and it changed my life because it helped me understand not only how organizations worked, but it helped me understand how life works, how people work, how this journey of ascension works. Okay. So I'm going to give you my perspective on all of this. My apologies to people who know way more than I do. All right. So back to the world of the quantum. What we know in the world of the tiny, we're talking subatomic particles here, is that everything vibrates. Everything. The chair you're sitting on, the floor you're standing on, the person standing next to you, the food that you ingest, everything vibrates. Everything. What's really cool about this space, the space of the quantum, is that it is a space that is pure potential. And what I mean by that is there's actually nothing concrete. There's nothing that exists. Everything is pure potentiality, vibratory potentiality. All right. Like I said, I'm not an expert, so let me offer a couple of quotes from books I love that have incorporated this into their foundations. The first one I want to share with you is a book by Lynn McTaggart. The book is called The Power of Eight. Okay. And this is what Lynn McTaggart says. She says, and I quote, "In the world of the tiny, things aren't actually things yet, but only a tiny cloud of probability, a potential of any one of its future selves. What dissolves this little cloud of probability into something concrete and measurable is the involvement of an observer. The most essential ingredient in creating our universe is the consciousness that observes it. Nothing in the universe exists as an actual thing, and I'm air quoting thing, independently of our perception of it." Okay. And for any of you who have the book or get in the book looking for it, that's pages 48 and 49. And let me share one more quote with you. This is Gary Zukav, and Gary Zukav has written a book called The Dancing Wu Li Masters, W-U-L-I, the Wu Li Masters. He's also written a great book called The Seat of the Soul. Love this guy. Anyhow, in the Dancing Wu Li Masters, he says this: "It is not possible to observe reality without changing it. According to quantum mechanics, there is no such thing as objectivity." Okay. Super cool. At least I think it's super cool. And so again, Penny, what does this have to do with Ishtar and I create my reality? So here's the thing. According to the science of quantum physics, because nothing exists until we observe it as such, we create our reality, right? Margaret Wheatley in her book talks about an experiment that was done where scientists used a microscope that amplifies down to levels, I can't even imagine. Anyhow, they studied this packet of energy. And what they discovered, and I'm paraphrasing here, but what they discovered was that um, when the observer came to study this packet of energy for its wave properties, they looked in the microscope and they saw a wave. When another scientist would come with the intention of studying this exact same wave packet for its properties as a point in space, as a particle, that's how the energy presented. Same packet of energy presented both as a wave and a particle, depending on the orientation of the observer. Okay. If we extrapolate that, then nothing that exists in our lives is anything other than a vibrational reality that we have brought into existence. You are the master of your universe. Now, when I first started to let this sink in, it was like terrifying for me. It was terrifying. What do you mean? I've created all like the crappy things that have happened in my life. I've brought in the kind of icky people. Da, 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 da. Are you kidding me? Seriously? Like I was not happy. But the more I came to understand more about the the laws of vibration and vibrational attraction, the more it made sense to me. So let me share that with you. So we know that everything vibrates. Another law of the universe says that things that vibrate at the same rate are attracted to each other, right? So those of us whose moms and dads told us that opposites attract, and you've heard me say this before, God bless them, they were wrong. Right? Things that vibrate at the same rate are attracted to each other, and things that vibrate at different rates cannot stay in the same space for very long. This is physics, folks. This is just the way it is. All right. So what I came to understand is that when I would draw to me unpleasant experiences, uh, unpleasant people, when I would manifest a lack of resources, it had to be because there was some resonant vibrational signal in me that was being emitted out into the universe and drawing to me those people, those experiences, those whatever they were. Okay. I was doing it. It was me. And so I, s- as I was on this journey, I decided I really wanted to start to look into the shadow parts of me. Where was I angry? Where was I fearful? Where was I holding judgment? And we talked about this 2 episodes ago. This is the beginning of the work of releasing those restrictions, not putting other people in a box because we're holding ourselves in boxes, right? So when I would be angry at my partner, what I came to realize is I wasn't angry at him. Whatever I was angry at him about was because he had mirrored something back to me. So I had to go into those shadow spaces because they were holding this vibration of anger. And so I was attracting to me things that were making me angry, right? This is deep work, friends. This is deep and challenging work. And I'm telling you that we do it day in and day out, moment by moment, in the smallest ways, in the most seemingly insignificant ways. Uh, we don't realize the extent to which we are holding those vibrations. And especially for people like each and every one of you, because if you're listening to this, you are a bringer of light. You are here to bring heaven to earth in this lifetime. You are here to climb the ascension spiral, to shine your light brighter and brighter. Every single one of you. That's why you're listening to this. You've been drawn here, right? That being said, you have done a lot of work. You've already done a lot of this work. You've dealt with your mom's stuff. You've dealt with your dad's stuff. You're doing it all. So that when it comes back up, when you draw something into your space that triggers you around issues you think you've worked on. You're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I did all that mom work. But what's happening is as we move into higher and higher vibrational realities, right? As we shift from third density reality into fourth, I believe that many of us are already heading into fifth and sixth dimensional realities, right? What happens is these things come back up to be dealt with at a different layer. I say they come up, but we're actually going deeper into the pain, into the woundedness, into the old identities and habits. Okay. And we want to do that in a way that allows us to honor them, hold them in the container of compassion, feed them, infuse them, saturate them with love so that they can be transformed back into what they've always been, which is love. When that happens, then they get reintegrated back into us because they're part of us. The shadow sides of us are parts of us that we just, they've forgotten who they are. All right. From my personal experience, I can tell you that this can bring up a lot of fear. I don't like to look at those dark parts of myself. I just don't. And it starts out with being afraid I won't be loved by somebody else. And then it takes me to the place where I won't be loved by myself. And then it takes me to the place of I won't be loved by source. That's the terror trigger for me, right? And again, Gary Zukov in the Dancing Wooly Masters, brilliant, brilliant, says this. Anything we fear to lose, a home, a car, an attractive body, an agile mind, a deep belief, is a symbol of externalized power. What we actually fear is an increase in our vulnerability. Ishtar had to thoroughly embrace her vulnerability. Oh my gosh, that is such an understatement. It is. My grandmother used to say, that's like Noah looking up and saying, we're in for a little rain. She had to step into a level of vulnerability that makes me want to like throw up. So deeply vulnerable that she was willing to release her life in order to be able to find her truth, to be reborn, to be remembered, right? We don't have to go to the lengths of dying. This is an allegory, this is a metaphor. But when we honor her journey, when we notice how she allowed herself to be taken apart, right? Metaphorically dismembered piece by piece. What we notice is that when all that was left was light, if the opposite of dismembered is remembered, she could remember who she was, the light of source, a beautiful and divine being. Her story is a promise to us. It's a big, huge, freaking neon sign on the side of the Ascension Highway. It's a reassurance that at the end of all of the difficult transits that we have agreed to experience in this lifetime, what awaits us is joy and peace. And what do we call this podcast? A life of balance and ease, right? When we are willing to take that deep dive, when we are willing to find the places where we're out of tune, where our radio signals that we're sending out into the universe are attracting things that are a lower frequency, we are being vulnerable in a way that we never imagined we could. And as we rest there, stripped bare, naked, if I'm not the wounded child, then who am I? I want to remind you to reach out for help. You have so many resources available to you. Any Ted Lasso fans out there? There's this beautiful quote. There's this brilliantly wise sage character. His last name is Higgins. Everybody calls him Higgins. And there's a scene in the last season, and Higgins says, uh, listen, human beings are never going to be perfect. The best we can do is to keep asking for help and accepting it when we can. If we keep on doing that, we'll always be moving towards better. And I share that quote because this is where, when we're lying at the bottom of the pit of the underworld, this is where we reach out, my friends. We don't have to do this alone. You reach out to your angels. You reach out to your guides. You reach out to God, source, creator, all that is. Creatrix's divine mother. You reach out to healers. You reach out to your yoga community. You schedule a Reiki session. You commit to getting outside and going for a walk in nature so that you can take a tree bath. You deepen your meditation practice. You go get a massage. You reach out for help. It really doesn't matter. For me, when I know I've got a tribe, a community who is surrounding me and supporting me, it bolsters me. It, what's the word I want? It reignites for me this sense of hope, this sense of faith and belief that whatever I'm going through, it ain't gonna last. It's there for a time. It's there for a reason. I have tools and I'm going to be okay. When I'm in those stages of growth, I know those people are there for me. Oh my gosh, I saw this thing on Facebook today, and it said, what did it say? How beautiful would it be if we could say to the people we loved, I'm not feeling like my best self today. Can you remind me of who I am? And those people were willing to mirror, I'm paraphrasing, those people were willing to mirror back to us who we are and how much they love us and appreciate us for who we are, right? I am sure that every single one of you listening to this does that for other people. So I'm begging you to be willing to accept that from others. When I do biofield tuning sessions for clients, sometimes we'll spend a lot of time clearing out chakras. People's front chakras open, gorgeous, beautiful. Why? Because this is where we give from. When I flip people over and I work on their back chakras, different story. Why? Because this is where we receive. You are worthy of it. You are worthy of receiving. You are worthy of receiving the safety, the sense of safety that will allow you to continue to do the deep dive, to see all parts of yourself, all aspects of yourself, your shadow and your light, and to get somebody else to reflect back to you the light that you are. And here it is, my friends. Here we come back full circle now. As we focus on that shadow, right? So that we can love it back into light. That's the vibration we send out into the world. Even though we're in the shadow space, we are interacting with it from a place of love and from a place of compassion. And when that's our vibration, that becomes our reality. Do you see it? Right? We know from the world of the quantum that we are the observer. And so what we focus on becomes reality. So what do we choose to focus on? Focusing on shadow is not a bad thing. How are we doing it? If we are bringing love and compassion, if we are bringing forgiveness and non-judgment, then this is how we're choosing to navigate this human experience. This is who we are choosing to be. And we are sending out a strong, crystal clear, pure radio signal that draws to us people and experiences and resources that vibrate at that same frequency. So let's bring it all the way on home now. Alana Fairchild in that oracle card, that White Light Oracle card guidebook. Remember, she talked about Ishtar. And she said that she was able to experience profound vulnerability. And in that state, discovered deep truth. And as you allow yourselves into that state of deep vulnerability, as you trust that the shadow side is nothing to be afraid of, you too will discover deep truths. And the deepest and most powerful one is the truth of who you are, a divine and perfect being of love and light. That is how Source sees you, each and every one of you, for the very simple reason that it is the truth of who you are. And it is my profound wish for each one of you that you would see yourselves that way. The same way that light sees you. Yes, the same way that Source sees you. Light, love, divine, just your beautiful, perfect self. I am so grateful to you for joining me. I am Penny Starhart, and this has been the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. Until we are together again next week, please remember, you are loved and you are love.
This is who I choose to be. This is who I choose to be.